Hey guys, Tisha here, and I'm back with another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. I was so annoyed while watching this episode, and there's a lot of parts that I did not include because of how irritated I was getting, because we continue to have the same conversations over and over again. We pick back up with Martell fussing outside, being called Mayweather by Fletcher because of this whole situation with what was said about Mel. He is saying that basically that the Scotts are biting the hand that fed them. It's so ironic that Martell is sitting here saying all these things because we know that he's currently still in the house that he was supposed to be out of. So isn't Martell biting the hand that feeds him as well? I just don't understand it. He says he would talk to Marcel, but he's going to just do a bunch of talking. So he's probably not going to get anywhere. But so when he said that, I thought he wasn't going to do it, but he still did it anyway. Whatever. We then see Tisha and her daughters preparing orders for their hair business. We know that they have a hair care line where right now it looks like they're selling bundles. We get told that this is something that they've been working on for 4 and 5 years, and now the business is up and it's ready. Given the exposure that the show has and how long they've been on it, I would think that they would have accumulated enough money to already do this. I don't think it's something that should have taken 4 to 5 years. I honestly feel like that's a number that Tisha is making up to make it seem as if she came up with this idea before Mel did. She's speaking to the ladies, her young ladies, about how it's so great for them to be in this entrepreneur business, for them to be doing this so young, because it's going to teach them a lot of things. As I said earlier, I feel like with this, she's kind of competing with Mel, because we know that Mel has, I don't even know if she still promotes it, but she has a business for Sugar Mama. Marceau comes over, and I was just like, okay, what is he doing here? I feel like this whole thing was about making a scene, because it's not even being filmed at Tisha's apartment. It looks really unorganized and chaotic. It's at her manager's house. Why not at your office? Why not somewhere else where we could have seen it look better? Instead, we're seeing it be filmed like this, with the products being packaged by you, your kids, and Tisha's business manager. The setup looks rinky-dinky, and right as I was writing that in my notes, Marceau basically complained about the setup as well. You have 175 orders, according to Tisha, and you have this little itty-bitty label maker to do it, when there are bigger, more heavy-duty machines that she could have used, knowing the volume that she has. The thing, it doesn't look like it's an easy flow. Things aren't just in a line. It's some over here, some over there, some over there. So I get what he was saying, and he started to immediately change things and make suggestions that the girls do more, because they're not doing a lot of work and it's their company. And if they're going to be experiencing real business, then they need to do more. And I agree with him saying that they need to do more, but I do think you have to be realistic about it as well. Is this something that the young ladies wanted to do, or is this an idea that Tisha came up with and she pushed on them? Because you can only have so much expectations of younger children if this is not even something that they were interested in. They use this time to talk about the expo again, and why Tisha felt like they didn't need to have that many people give them negative suggestions. My suggestion is, next time, you guys don't tell them anything. Don't give them any advice, because they're very unappreciative. Allow them to do it by themselves and let the chips fall wherever they fall, because I'm tired of hearing about it. They talk about Stormy, because Tisha apparently met up with Stormy at Black, and she says, like, is there any way, that this could be fixed, etc., etc. Marceau brings out that he met Stormy's energy, that when she came in the room, she didn't even attempt to hug him, which is true. We see that Stormy and Tisha have made up. As Stormy's talking, she says, do you not want me to call him a B anymore? And Tisha says, yes. Do you feel like that was disrespectful? And Tisha says, yes. And Stormy agrees to not call him a B anymore, but somehow tries to say that one of the reasons why she did that is because that's how she grew up. I'm not trying to hear that. She claims that she can do it, that she'll be better. She's quick to get over stuff. We all know that Stormy is not quick to get over stuff, because if she was, when Mel walked in the room and said hello to her at the baby shower event, rather than digging in her purse and acting like she didn't hear Mel, she would have spoken, especially since by that point they had talked about their issues more than once. I firmly believe that Stormy is fake. Because Stormy is one way when she's one-on-one with someone, and she's another way in a group setting. Seems like when multiple people are around, that is when Stormy has balls. And when it's just her one-on-one with the person, that she tends to be more calm, more reserved. Why is that? I don't like Stormy, and I don't trust her. And this is from somebody who buys her hair products. So please understand, I see through what Stormy's presenting. Marceau brings up how he's never disrespected Stormy as a woman, that at no point did he bring up her gender or what women could or couldn't do in the business. He thinks that when it comes to gender roles in a business, there are none. You don't see, gender doesn't matter for CEO. But we all know that gender definitely does matter to him. He's just saying what he feels like sounds good. And he also cares about gender definitely in a relationship, gender roles. We see another flashback of Stormy asking Tisha to kind of rein him in so that he doesn't poke the bear, basically. And Tisha says that she can do that. And while Tisha's trying to talk to him about seeing if he could not poke the bear so much, or if he could, change how he responds and things of that nature, he lets it be known that he doesn't feel like he did anything wrong. He wouldn't change it. And that's basically not a relationship that he values enough to even try to change anything. That's the end of that. We get to Kimmy. Y'all, Kimmy, every time I see Kimmy, I feel defeated. It's not even my situation, but I get so upset. Kimmy is at her house meeting her friend Andrea. She's doing this to make us upset again about how insensitive her husband is. I hate this version of Kimmy. I hate that she has no backbone when it comes to how she's being treated. She brings up the conversation that her and her husband had while they were on the bike ride about sex, and how he feels like them not having sex is in her head. Her friend says maybe it is in our head to a certain extent. Come on now, girl. Come on now, girl. Your friend has been talking to you long enough and confiding in you long enough that you know that this is more than just a in her head thing. Kimmy lets us know that she doesn't feel pretty and she doesn't have hair. And even before all of this, when she first got with him, that her esteem might not have been where it needed to be. And if she hasn't had sex with him, she can see why it would bother him. And I just don't understand how all of this is supposed to help her. Her friends suggest toys and stuff like that. Kimmy says she already has those. She suggests for her to make sexy photos. This scene annoyed me because it's so much more than just the fact that Kimmy may mentally be going through some things. Like, yes, she is mentally going through some things. Her body isn't what it was. She doesn't feel like she used to feel. I said it in previous videos. There's a lot of things that chemotherapy does other than just you losing your hair. So the fact that her husband has been so insensitive gets on my nerves. Before she was diagnosed with cancer, he had a lot of demands of her when it came to sex. They were too high. So as soon as you knew that she had cancer, because he has such a a healthy appetite when it comes to sex, I think that he should have found someone to talk to because he has a problem. Kimmy is sitting there, continue to have this conversation, and it's so cringy to me. I'm not going to go play by play because I got annoyed, as I said earlier. The smartest thing that her friend advised her was to get therapy, and then she changed it to sex therapy. I agree that they should have therapy. I think that therapy should come first and maybe sex therapy should come later. I do believe that he needs to do more work than Kimmy does, but Kimmy needs to do some as well. But the problem is we've seen it already. He doesn't listen to therapists. They show us season 1 and how he supposedly kind of listened to the therapist from season 1, but we know he didn't listen to the, I can't remember his name, but the male that was used in previous seasons to do couples therapy. He didn't want to listen to him because he was calling him out on his stuff. He doesn't like therapists. We've seen it. So this whole conversation, whatever. Kimmy should not feel like talking to her husband is a lot of work, because she said talking to him is a lot of work. It drains her. Andrea says that they all need to do self-work, and he really needs to do some, maybe like 12 weeks, and they laugh it off. Them Scott brothers, to me, have issues. I think that all people, adults, children, whatever, would benefit from therapy. We get back to Marceau and Tisha, and they're filming a commercial for their casino night. As they're filming for this, her husband is telling her to lean up against him and to be more flirty. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, Tisha has absolutely no sex appeal, not even with her husband. She says she doesn't do flirty, but you can't even embrace your man. Like, I get no sexual energy between them. I felt more energy from him sitting across from Mel, arguing back and forth with her, than I feel with him and Tisha as she's leaning up against them. Maybe this is why he looked the way he looked when he was talking to Mel. Like he wanted to devour her. Because Mel is very sexy. Like Mel has sex appeal. Everything that he was trying to tell her to do, Tisha was acting like she didn't get it. Like, I get it. I'm not one who ironically likes to be in front of the camera. I get very self-conscious. But come on, girl. You should be used to it by now. You've been filming for how many seasons now? Now that Melody has mentioned donors for other events, they're trying to get a donor for this event that they're having at Black. So basically, at first, I thought they were just doing this to do it, and then they wanted donors. But apparently, they want to invite people from the expo to also be a part because they're trying to raise money. It's a fundraiser for a group called For the Every Child Deserves a Place to Call Home. Here, this organization creates homes for children. I don't understand quite how they build the house or build the home or the room or whatever it is, but it goes towards housing these children. And what my immediate question is, as they're talking about this fundraiser, is how much of the proceeds, because you're talking about purchasing tickets as well as doing the event, how much of the proceeds are actually going to these children? Because they have a way of not being open and honest and disclosing amounts. If you're only going to give a couple percent, don't do it. Make it so that you really like pour into this organization. They film it. It's done. I'm still confused about it all, but whatever. We get to Marceau and Martell. Marceau heads over to Martell's rental that he is still in, even though Chris told him to get out. He's heading over because he wants to make sure that he got the story right from Fletcher. Fletcher wasn't the one spreading the story about everything that was going on. Fletcher did offer a clarification, but it was Nell that was telling everybody what was going on. As they're talking, Marceau congratulates him for the house that they're building, and he talks about how he saw Messy Fletcher out there when they were filming the building and whatever else. And they talk some more about some stuff. I wish these people I don't know. They talk about how he's messy, and Martell talks about how he keeps trying to tell him he needs to move, and that's why he came by. And I feel like him having this conversation with people and not divulging everything is dumb. He's a grown man. Like, he's been enabled enough. Get out the house. We hear again about this dinner and how he felt that the conversation was misconstrued. Martell says one thing that he was bothered by was the fact that Melody didn't speak. That Mel is a staple in this community, and if she wanted to speak, she would have spoken. He said before all of this, the community knew who Eminem were, and that Marceau knows that Eminem were killing it, and that alone should have been enough for them to talk. As they're speaking, Fletcher calls. He lets him know, look, I'm outside because I'm putting up this for sale sign. He said, I thought you already sold it. The point is, he's putting up the sign. You need to hurry up and get out. Martell has completely taken full advantage of this situation. He said he hasn't found a place to go yet in his confessional, and he's not leaving until he finds a place to go. And I just want to know what he has on Fletcher, because how is somebody who is costing you your business your friend? I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the owners decide that they don't even want to use Fletcher as their agent, as their listing agent, because of how long it's taken for him to get rid of this house. As they sit down talking about stuff some more, because Fletcher joined them, Marceau is talking about how these people who they're talking to don't have the type of platforms that they have, so he didn't feel like it would be right for people who didn't have their businesses before the platform to speak. And Martell doesn't like how he's trying to act like Mel isn't relevant. Majority of the things that he's able to have now, according to Martell, is because of them and the relationship he had with the Holtz. I will say, I think that it's extremely messed up that they do not appreciate Mel for this show and for pitching this show. I don't know the ins and outs of Sculpt, because the way that Marceau is talking, Sculpt, the relationship didn't benefit him. The account was in the negative, all those things. But let's not act like Mel being transparent and Mel bringing this to the network and Mel pitching this idea and Mel telling all of her business about how she was cheated on by this man who she had a kid with, even after she found out he cheated on her and gave him another chance. Let's not act like all of that didn't help this, because since all of that, like, the show has gone down, since Mel hasn't been, I mean, not saying that Mel is the only person, but a lot of us were glued in because of all of that. And the Scotts aren't showing us the true version of them. They're giving us an edited one, this surface level stuff, and Mel didn't give us that. He then asks Marcel to tell him about when he failed business. Of course, Martell to tell him about when he failed business. And of course, Martell struggled, and he said he can't think about anything because him and Mel didn't really have failures when they were together. He lets us know that, Marceau lets us know that this is part of the problem that he has with them, because he should be speaking about his bankruptcy, because that is a failure. He then talks about how he doesn't have a problem speaking about his bankruptcy because he knows that he learned from it. If that was truly the case, Marceau, I don't think that it should have taken Mel or Martell to mention it in order for you to speak on it. Martell says, no, stop. At one point, you didn't want to talk about it. You didn't talk about it until I spoke about it. I agree. Marceau says it's false, and he doesn't want Mel speaking because if Mel spoke, she wouldn't talk about her failures. This is bull to me, because did you have all those other people who were on that panel talk about their failures? Did you ask Mel if she were to speak, if she would be willing to talk about failures? Or is this just yet another one of your many excuses to try to act like you're better than Martell and Mel? I need for Martell to stop protecting Marceau and reveal exactly what he has, because their dynamic makes no sense. The way they go back and forth makes no sense. The way that they protect each other makes no sense. We hear again about scope. And Marceau said that the money was not matching, that the account was at zero, that them going into business, even though it was supposed to be 50-50, didn't help. As I said earlier, I'm tired of hearing about this. I'm tired of hearing about the Black Expo. So don't expect for me to break this conversation down verbatim. He claims that he gave Martell way more money than Martell ever gave him. He says, I didn't give you money, Martell. And Martell says no. And this is when we find out that Marceau has loaned him money. He loaned him money that Tisha didn't know about. I wish we knew the context of this, because you didn't say you loaned them money. You said you loaned him money, which makes me feel like you gave him money when he was going through all that stuff with Mel. As they're going back and forth, Fletcher basically is like, let's stop this, because, you know, y'all are just going to keep going back and forth, and this is something that y'all could do all day. All that fussing, they're still going to be friends because they're holding each other's secrets. He invites the both of them to the Bet on Black thing. Chris asks if he can bring his wife. He says yes, and he tells Martell, you can bring somebody from your harem. So this was a pointless scene. We then see Mel and Kiki meeting up at Mid-City. They catch up, talk about Kiki being sick and her waiting to hear about these tests. I really don't like this, because I feel like the problem with Kiki is that she's not taking care of herself. I think that the methadone is affecting her in other ways, and she needs to get off of it. I don't understand, is this the only person Mel can film with? Because it didn't make sense for them to even talk about this Black Expo thing, because Kiki wasn't a part of the panel or anything at any point. We hear about the Black Expo again. Kiki gives her part about it, and then she basically tells us that she feels like Marceau isn't the same person, which is one of the reasons why she doesn't really, you know, like to get involved with him. That money has changed him as well as fame. She says that he jokes people, he does things at other people's expense, yet he can't take it when it's done to him. We all know that Marceau is an ass. That's no new news. And it has seemed like it's gotten worse over the years, because he is feeling himself. Mel asks her about how and Tisha are doing. She says that they haven't been talking. It seems like they've been taking steps back, and she feels like one of the reasons why is because of the problems that are going on with Tisha and Marceau. And this is where we hear that she allegedly believes that he's having an affair, and that he went to the club and he met up these two women and had a threesome with them, and that's how they ended. Do I believe that he would be that sloppy? Yes. Do I believe that this is true? I'm not sure. I don't know what to believe when it comes to Tisha and Marceau, because we've yet to get the authentic version of them. They don't even embrace each other the way that I would expect for them to embrace each other. All these side hugs and these moments where she can't even be affectionate with her husband. And this is coming from someone who's not overly affectionate themselves. I just don't see that spark. Maybe it's because they've been married for a long time and they're in a little bit of a rut. I don't know. As I said, they don't really let us know. They give us the surface level versions of themselves. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time. Y'all, the clicker. I thought I had the clicker down pat.